Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Doing another video about a mesh watch band. I've done a few videos on these, but I wanted to share with you this pretty inexpensive band, which I found to be actually quite decent, especially for the price. It's from Amazon. I'll have a link in the video description to it if you're interested in it, but I bought this myself. I was curious to try it based on some of the reviews, particularly because it's a lot thicker than most of the cheap bands you'll find on Amazon. I think it's advertised as being about 3 millimeters thick, and that's if you've bought or owned any of these cheaper bands, they're usually much thinner than that. So I said I'll buy it and see how it is, and if it was bad, I wasn't going to even bother showing it in a video, but I was actually pleasantly surprised. So as you can see, it has a pretty interesting clasp mechanism there. The clasp itself, the folding part, is pretty thin stamped metal. However, I think that's actually not such a bad thing because it already is fairly thick with the two layers of mesh on top of each other, and the thin stamped metal, while not the best looking thing in the world, does help reduce any additional thickness from the clasp. So I can understand the choice here to use that. In addition, we're talking about a band that's $20, so there's not a lot of room to put a heavier clasp on there if they're trying to keep costs down. So there's a view from the side. See, here's another view of the clasp opening and closing. I actually like the mechanism. It was very easy to open and close, and there are two sort of hook shape pieces as part of the clasp, which you can adjust if the clasp you're finding that the clasp opens too easily when you press the button. So I thought that was a nice feature. The weave of the mesh is not perfect, and I wouldn't expect it to be for the price. It also comes with these quick easy spring bars that you don't need tools to operate, and as you can see, there's a notch at the end of the band where you can install a regular spring bar or the ones that are supplied with the band, which I found to be nice. There were really no sharp edges anywhere, which is also surprising because on more expensive bands, even my expensive Stabe mesh, I have found a couple of very sharp edges. So they definitely did a good job in finishing. Right here below, you'll see that's a Stabe, one of the low-cost Stabe bands. I've done a video about that. It's about $45. As you can see, the thickness is very similar, but the weave, I guess you'd call it, of the wire is a little bit different. So you see the look is different. The Stabe, the lower band, is has a little more flex in it, and it's more expensive. So I would expect it to be somewhat better in quality, but I don't think there's really a difference in appearance. I actually kind of like the appearance of the cheaper band more, perhaps, even though it's not as flexible, it's more rigid. There's something about the tighter weave which makes it look a little more substantial to my eyes. And here at the top is actually I believe this was only about $5 or $6, another mesh band from Amazon. This is typical of something in the less expensive category of these bands, and I just got it I had no band for that particular watch and just needed something to place on it. But as you can see, there's a big difference between the $5 band and the $20 band in the middle here. I'll show another view of the two sides of the band so you can compare. So these two I even measured with a caliper. They're almost the same thickness, maybe a difference of 1/10 of a millimeter, but you can see the Amazon band has definitely a tighter weave. So this is the Omega I was thinking of installing this mesh band on. I think the mesh bands generally go well with the models that have the polished bezel inserts, such as this one. And before I put it on, I wanted to do a little adjustment. So you can see it's very easy to adjust this band as well, which I thought is another nice feature. You just flip up that part. You don't even need any tools to do so. Make sure it's seated in one of the grooves underneath, and then close it. So the band is pretty long, and I needed to shorten it. So I started with that, and just take off the spring bars on the watch. And since they include the quick release spring bars, it's really easy to put the band on. So here it is installed. Sometimes I get worried with these quick release spring bars because that tab can rub against the case, but there was a sufficient space on this watch for that tab to not touch the case. As you can see, super easy to take the band on and off with those. You literally need zero tools to do anything with the band, which is really nice. So here's what it looks like. First impression when I put it on, I was really impressed with the combination. These watches, I think a lot of the models of Seamaster Pro look good on mesh, but you should avoid using a very thin mesh because those bands look a lot dressier than an Omega Seamaster, and they just don't match up well. But something like this is heavier. I think it's a good fit for a watch like this. Here it is on the wrist. You can see I think it goes really well, and reminding myself that this was only $20, I think it's a pretty impressive product for that price, to be very honest. And I actually needed to shorten the band a little bit here, so again, super easy to do so. That stay band I showed in the beginning, that has the kind of clasp where you open and the two pieces of the band totally separate, and that always made me nervous because if your that type of clasp opens, your watch can easily fall off. Here, as you can see, the band does not separate the two sides of the band unless you're doing an adjustment in sizing, and that means that if this clasp were to open, if you put pressure on the side buttons, your watch is not going to fall off the wrist, which is nice. Here it is again. You can see on the side. I mentioned before the band is pretty rigid, so it feels a little bit like a cuff on the wrist. You might be able to loosen it up by bending it a little bit, flexing it, but for me it was comfortable this way. I didn't mind at all. I'm actually wearing the watch on the mesh right now as I'm speaking. But yeah, I'd like to hear what you think. Again, I ask you to consider it's only $20, much cheaper than mesh brands directly from watch manufacturers, and a tiny fraction of the price of an Omega mesh band. And I think it looks really good, and I don't think you can do much better for such a low price. So again, let me know what you think. If you have any questions or comments about this band in the video, please leave them below. And once again, thanks for watching. Till the next one.